welcome back. Where do women fit into Sri Lanka's new future and path to sustainable peace? How far have women come in terms of participation in Sri Lankan society? Who else needs to be involved, and what more needs to be done in order to see more success in this regard? I spoke with prominent lawyer activist Shyamala to find out. Right now it seems that everyone is envisioning a new future for Sri Lanka. The war is over and there's a sense of opportunity in the air for new and better beginnings. Where do you think women fit into this picture?
Well, I think they should fit in almost equally with men, I would think. But I was thinking about this question. I'm just wondering whether we need to, make women realize that they should be fitting in, and also telling men that they do fit in. So it's an equal opportunity, as you said, and I feel that both men and women both need to realize that there is an opportunity here to rebuild our land on an equal footing, and that they both need to play a role.
Are they both playing a role equally or not?
I wouldn't think so. And I think if you accept the fact that almost 53% of our population consists of women, then you need to realize that they also need to play a role in this whole, in nation building as a result. And I think our problem has been that there has been a lack of knowledge in certain ways in terms of actually educating both men and women on the role that they need to play here. And also the fact that women need to be given visibility. I think that's very important, because right now if you look around you, you find that women are not given that visibility in restructuring, in rebuilding, in reconstruction efforts. And here we need to make sure that women have that voice. I think another way in which you can do this is to really ensure that women are in decision-making roles. Right now, if you look at society and the country we live in, we find that women are not. There's a huge gap in terms of who is at decision-making levels, and we need to ensure that women are in those levels as well.
And now the struggle for women's rights in Sri Lanka by activists such as yourself has come a long way over the past 3 decades. What do you think is the greatest milestone that has been achieved so far?
Well, I think there has been quite a bit of progress in certain ways. I mean, we have many progressive laws in this country now as a result of women's activism, both in the state sector and the non-state sector. They've done it together. Basically, there has been sort of a partnership where they've gone together, they've fought together, and basically there has been progress in terms of having, for example, the domestic violence law would not have been possible if not for women's activism. I think that is one major achievement in a sense. Similarly, the Penal Code amendments of 1995, another great achievement. And hopefully another great achievement will be the Women's Commission Bill, which has right now been drafted and has been approved by Cabinet. It will hopefully go to Parliament soon and it will be passed, which means that we will have a Women's Commission Act, similar to the Human Rights Commission Act. So that will be a major achievement for this country.
But now many activists feel that while there are these progressive laws that you just mentioned, they haven't been implemented properly. What do you think about that?
Yes, I agree completely with that, because I think one of the main sort of problem areas is lack of implementation, and there are many reasons for that. One would be the fact that very many people are needed to actually implement an act. It doesn't mean that you just implement an act and leave it. It would mean that you actually take it out and figure out who should be working that act. So it would mean, for example, again taking the Domestic Violence Act, you would need police officers, you would need probation officers, counselors, lawyers, judges, activists, all of them playing a role in implementing the act. And this is where it falls short, because there's really no partnership or networking or liaising between these different actors, and they're all needed to implement the act.
So this brings me to the 16 days of activism, which starts on the 25th of November. What is the main goal of these 16 days? Is it awareness that you were just talking about, or is it to pressurize authorities to take the issue more seriously?
It is actually everything, I would think. I mean, it is to pressurize, to give visibility to the issue of violence against women. After all, it leads up to Human Rights Day, which is 10th of December. And also, I think in a way, indirectly, it's also telling us that violence against women is a violation of human rights. In that sense, so it's a fitting ending, a fit ending to 16 days of activism. And as you said, it's just also about creating awareness, but it's not just that. It's also pressurizing authorities. Maybe it's a form of advocacy, asking government, asking the non-state actors to get up and take notice of the issue. And very many events are being planned around the country for this 16 days of activism.
Okay, I'm curious, in your line of work, have you found that women's rights aren't considered human rights?
Sometimes you do get that answer. I mean, some of the trainings I do, I find that very many men are, and I don't like to say this, but very many people are sort of, they don't understand the concept properly. They scoff at the concept. There was a man recently, actually last weekend, who basically said there can be for just reason a woman, you can beat your wife up. And that's the first time I heard that in my life, at a training session, where he justified the fact that you could beat up a woman if she's not complying with certain things. So you get that, and that it's a shock. But at the same time, you need to move on and tell people like that there violence, there's zero tolerance for violence of any form, and you need to sort of work on that.
Is this why you think it is so important to involve men in this whole process of...
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, again, we fall short there because we don't think of that aspect of it. If we say that it is the majority, it is the women that are affected or, victims of violence, then you need to look at the perpetrators. And I mean, unfortunately, it is the case that we have to agree to some extent that it is mainly men who are the perpetrators. It's not to say that same-sex violence does not take place. It's not to say that women don't beat up men. There are instances. But in the majority of cases, it is where men beat up women. So we need to ensure that whatever programming or whatever kind of projects that we undertake also involve men in those processes, so that you tell them, you don't batter them up by lecturing them, but you need to tell them that women have an equal right to a place in society, and that they have a right to not be violated in any form.